President-elect Trump and his transition team are already breaking a law on presidential transition. That is according to Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren.
Warren taking to X to say she would know since she wrote the law that incoming presidents are required to prevent conflicts of interest and sign an ethics agreement. And she's not alone in her concerns, as other lawmakers are raising concerns in a letter to Trump and Vice President-elect J.D. Vance over their campaign's failure to enter into presidential transition agreements with the federal government.
And this comes as Trump is already demanding that Republican senators step aside when it comes to these major decisions like who runs the government.
We're joined now by Chief Legal Analyst Khalif Rhodes to talk about this. Obviously, look, it is an ongoing saga when you talk about what we've seen as a, unprecedented in terms of Trump and the way he runs things. How big is this not signing the ethics agreement? Because until he does that, they can't access classified information.
That is correct. He has an obligation, or I should say, as Senator Warren said, he has an obligation to sign these agreements so they can move forward. But he's had past history with classified documents or turning those classified documents over. Trump bucks process. Let's start there.
Yeah.
This is not anything new. And so what I can say is I think this will get resolved. There are always people behind him doing the things that they need to do to make sure they can get the ball moving forward. But sometimes he has a mountain that he wants to fight on. I don't think this one is it. I just think that right now he's in the process of picking the folks that he wants to be in position. He's announcing a new person every 5 minutes. It seems like that will be in leadership positions throughout this process. And you do want that to happen. But at the same time, you want to ensure that you are also following the rules that are laid out as well.
Speaking of President-elect Trump picking these key positions, as you're talking about in the White House for his administration, the Senate plays a very important role, a constitutional role, to basically be a checks and balances of who's the president picking. We confirm you got to have Senate majority. But we're hearing that Trump is telling the Senate, at least the Republicans, stay home. I want to fast track these decisions.
Yep.
What's kind of the legal ramifications of this?
There's no legal ramifications if they make these appointments during when they are in a set aside date, a 10-day period specifically, then he won't need their approval to do these things. So that's what he's asking. And I mean, there's nothing illegal about that. It is technically 100% legal. It normally doesn't happen like that. Typically, it happens when they are in session. But what he's asking them to do is that I want to speed this process up. Part of his pushback was his whole reason for running. 2016, I want to drain the swamp. I want to get rid of a lot of the Washington bureaucracy and the process of the red tape of just doing normal things. So he's like, well, something that should take 1 or 2 days will in Washington take 50 days. Well, how can I get rid of that? Well, if you aren't there and you aren't there for 10 days, I'm allowed to do this now without your authority. That's making sure that you know the rules to the game and playing within those rules. Those are the things that I think a lot of folks love about the former president, now president-elect, that he finds ways to work with inside the system and sometimes outside the system to get where he wants to go.
I guess the issue that has been brought up in terms of the conflicts of interest. Obviously, no, Trump is a businessman. A lot of people that he was going to bring in the administration, also successful businessmen. Does that get a little hairy when you talk about, okay, you have investments here, investments there. Can you run this office?
You would think that it would become extremely hairy, murky, dark, muddy, whatever word we want to put on it, that there is a real conflict of interest. He has investments in a number of foreign countries that the country, us as the United States, does business with.
Right.
But I think with the United States Supreme Court making the decision that the official acts of the president give him immunity from criminal prosecution even makes this even more murky, because now are these acts that he's doing while in office, still running these businesses, do they constitute official presidential acts? I think they opened up the window there for some of those acts that he does while still holding these businesses. Yes, he'll put it in a trust. Yes, he'll give some of these businesses to other family members to run, but he still has direct control and influence over those businesses. And so I think it puts him in a very, very unique situation, and they've given him kind of unfettered access to kind of do what he wants right now.
Carte blanche. Yeah, we'll have to see some blurred lines here. Khalif, thanks, man. Appreciate that.